Mom, why don't I have a daddy? 5-year-old Matt suddenly paused from his drawing and looked up at Kate with wide eyes. Kate froze, feeling unprepared for the question she dreaded. She knew it would come eventually, but the moment still caught her off guard. You have a daddy, sweetheart. He's just away right now, Kate reassured, kneeling beside him and gently running her fingers through his hair. When is he coming back? Hope flickered in the boy's eyes, and Kate felt a knot tighten in her throat. How could she explain to him that he would never come back? Well, sweetie, sometimes people leave us forever, but that doesn't mean they don't love us. Your daddy loved you very much. Where is he now? He's in heaven. Kate struggled to keep her tears at bay. He watches over us and is proud of how big and smart you are. Matt frowned, his young mind wrestling with a concept. So he's not coming to play with me. His disappointment was palpable. No, darling, but you know what? You have me, Grandma, and Grandpa. We all love you so much and will always be here for you. Kate enveloped her son in a warm hug, trying to comfort both him and herself. Guilt washed over her once more. She couldn't shake the feeling that she had deprived him of a complete family, that she could have somehow prevented her husband from getting behind the wheel that day when he was so tired. Mom, why don't we draw Dad? Matt suddenly suggested. That way, he can be with us, even if he's in heaven. Kate smiled through her tears. That's a beautiful idea. They spent the entire evening creating a portrait of Dan using old photos for reference. As they drew, Kate shared amusing stories about her and Dan, laughter filling the room and lightening the heavy atmosphere. The following day, Kate rushed to work as usual. She was an editor at a small publishing house, and today they had an important meeting scheduled with a new author. Lisa, I'm running a bit late. Can you meet our guest and show him into the conference room? Kate called her assistant as she hurried down the hall. No problem, Kay. I've got it all set up. You're a lifesaver. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Kate dashed into the office, smoothing her hair as she moved. Lisa was waiting for her at the door. Kate, the author, is already in the conference room. I offered him some coffee. Thank you, Lisa. How's he doing? Oh, you'll be pleasantly surprised, Lisa replied with a knowing smile. Kate entered the meeting room and stopped short. Sitting at the table was a tall man in his early 30s, with expressive brown eyes and a disarming smile. He rose to greet her. Hello, I'm Dave Martin, an aspiring but very promising author, he said with a wink, extending his hand. Kate Smith, editor. Nice to meet you, she responded, shaking his hand and taking note of his firm yet gentle grip. Sorry I'm late. We're not usually this chaotic, Kate admitted, feeling a little self-conscious under Dave's attentive gaze. That's okay. I enjoyed the view outside and had a great cup of coffee. By the way, your assistant is fantastic, a bright spot on a dreary morning. Kate found herself smiling, feeling an instant connection with Dave. Yes, Lisa is a real gem. Well, let's get down to business. Tell me about your book. The next hour flew by as Dave spoke passionately about his novel, a gripping detective story filled with twists and turns. Kate listened intently, asking questions and noting down her thoughts. She was impressed by his writing style and his knack for building suspense. You know, Dave, I think your book has a lot of potential. I'd love to edit it. Really? Dave's face lit up with a grin. I'm thrilled to hear that. I was a bit anxious before the meeting. They say you're a very demanding editor. That's true, Kate chuckled. But I can tell you take your writing seriously, so I'm confident we'll work well together. I hope so too. How about we celebrate the start of our collaboration with a cup of coffee? Dave suggested, looking at Kate with hopeful eyes. Kate hesitated for a moment. It had been a long time since she'd been on a date, and she typically avoided getting close with men. But there was something about Dave that intrigued her. "I'm sorry, I can't tonight. I have to pick up my son from kindergarten," Kate said, wanting to communicate her priorities clearly. "Oh, you have a son? That's wonderful. How old is he?" Dave's enthusiasm was genuine. "He's 5. His name is Matt." "That's such a fun age. I love kids. My sister has twins, and I spend a lot of time with them. How about we all go to the park together sometime? I'm sure Matt would enjoy it." Kate stared at Dave in surprise. Most men tended to lose interest upon hearing she had a child, but he seemed genuinely intrigued by the idea. "That sounds like fun, but let's not rush it. We still have a lot to work through on the book." "Absolutely, absolutely. I was just thinking out loud. I'll be looking forward to your feedback on the first chapter." After they said their goodbyes, Kate returned to her office. Throughout the day, she couldn't shake Dave's smile or his warm words about kids from her mind. "Don't think about it," she reminded herself. "You don't have time for romance right now. You have Matt and work." That evening, as she tucked her son into bed, she found herself wishing she could share the news about Dave with him. But she simply kissed Matt on the forehead and said, "Good night, sunshine. Tomorrow we have a busy day ahead, new sneakers and a visit to Grandma's." "Okay, Mom. Will you read to me?" "Of course," Kate replied, reaching for her son's favorite book. "Let's begin The Adventures of Cheburashka and Crocodile Gina." As she drifted off to sleep that night, Kate reflected on how much her life had changed in recent years. Once, she and Dan had dreamed of a big family and made all sorts of plans. Now she was raising a son on her own, juggling work and home life. Maybe it was time for a shift, a chance at a new relationship. But immediately, she dismissed the thought. No, not yet. Matt was too young and needed all her attention. Besides, who knew if Dave was just trying to charm her with friendly banter? As she lay in bed, she resolved to focus on her work and set aside thoughts of her personal life. Yet the image of Dave, with his warm smile, lingered in her mind. A few weeks went by, and Kate immersed herself in revising Dave's book. They spoke often, discussing edits and plot developments. With each conversation, she grew more convinced that Dave was not only a talented writer, but also an engaging conversationalist. One evening, during a discussion about the next chapter, Dave asked, "Kate, don't you think we should go out sometime? You know, take a break from work and unwind a bit." Kate hesitated. Part of her yearned to accept, but another part worried about how it might affect their professional dynamic. "Dave, I'm not sure that's a great idea. We do work together, after all." "Kate," he said, his voice warm and reassuring, "I completely understand your concerns. But believe me, it's just a friendly meeting. No hidden meanings, no pressure, just two people who enjoy talking to each other." Kate smiled, feeling as if he had read her mind. "All right," she finally said, "but only if it's something family-friendly. I can't leave Matt alone tonight." "Great," Dave exclaimed with excitement. "I have an idea. There's an ice cream festival in the park this weekend. Matt would absolutely love it, and it'll be fun for us too." So on Saturday, Kate and Matt met Dave at the park entrance. Matt was a bit shy at first, but Dave quickly put him at ease. "Hey buddy, how about a contest? Who can try the most flavors of ice cream?" He winked at the boy. Matt's face lit up with joy. "Yay, Mom, can I?" Kate hesitated, tempted to remind him that too much sugar wasn't good for him, but her son's excited expression made her yield. "All right, but just today. And no tummy aches afterward." They spent hours meandering through the park, stopping at various ice cream stands. Dave kept Matt giggling with silly stories while helping him choose the most unusual flavors. Watching them together filled Kate's heart with warmth. As evening approached, Matt grew tired and a little cranky. Suddenly, Dave hoisted him up into his arms, saying, "Hey, brave knight, it looks like it's time to head back to the castle. Did you order a dragon ride?" Matt laughed and hugged Dave tightly around his neck, and Kate felt tears welling up in her eyes. She hadn't seen her son this happy in a long time. By the time they reached Kate's house, Matt had fallen asleep in Dave's arms. "Thank you for today," Kate whispered as she carefully took her son from him. "He hasn't had this much fun in ages." Dave looked at her affectionately. "Thank you, Kate, for trusting me. Matt is a wonderful boy, and you're an amazing mom." They held each other's gaze, and Kate felt her heart race. Dave took a step closer, yet she instinctively retreated, saying, "I have to go. Matt needs to get to bed." "Of course," Dave replied with an understanding smile. "Good night, Kate. I'll see you at the publishing house." That night, Kate lay awake for a long time, thinking about how effortlessly Dave connected with Matt and how thoughtful he was toward them both. "Maybe I should give this relationship a chance," she pondered. But fear crept in. What if things went wrong? What if Matt grew attached to Dave and then they broke up? Could she endure another loss? Weeks passed in a whirlwind of work on the book. Even as Kate and Dave met at the publisher's office, trying to keep things professional, she couldn't help but notice how warm his gaze became whenever he looked at her, and how he found subtle ways to touch her hand. One evening, while they were up late discussing final edits, Dave suddenly said, "Kate, I can't pretend anymore that there isn't something between us. I really like you. It's not just your beauty or intelligence. It's how caring you are as a mother and how dedicated you are to your work. I want to get to know you better, to be there for you and for Matt. Please give us a chance." A lump formed in Kate's throat. She had longed to hear those words but was scared at the same time. "Dave, I don't know what to say. I really like you too. But I have Matt to think about. I can't risk his happiness." Dave gently took her hand. "I understand your fears, but aren't we risking even more by passing up the chance to be happy? I'm not asking for an instant decision. Let's take it one step at a time. I'm willing to wait as long as it takes." Looking into his eyes, Kate saw sincerity and warmth. In that moment, she realized she didn't want to suppress her feelings any longer. "All right," she finally said softly. "Let's give it a try." Dave's face lit up as he pulled her gently toward him. Their first kiss was tender and a bit shy, reminiscent of teenagers in first love. Yet it held so much emotion that Kate felt a wave of dizziness wash over her. The following months flew by like a blur. Dave made an effort to spend every spare moment with Kate and Matt. They visited the zoo, had picnics in the park, and enjoyed movie nights at home. Matt became increasingly attached to Dave, who treated him with sincerity and affection. Kate observed their budding bond, and she felt the icy barrier around her heart begin to thaw. She started allowing herself to dream of a future, of a real family. But sometimes when she looked at a picture of Sergei, a feeling of guilt would wash over her. One night, while Matt was already asleep and she and Dave sat together in the living room, she decided to share her feelings. "Dave, I need to confess something. I sometimes feel like a traitor, like I'm betraying Dan's memory by allowing myself to be happy with you," Kate confessed, her voice trembling. Dave looked at her earnestly, taking her hand in his. "Kate, listen. You're not betraying anyone's memory. You're living your life, and I'm sure that's what Dan would want for you and Matt. Happiness. Love doesn't diminish when you share it. It only grows." A tear ran down Kate's cheek, and Dave gently brushed it away with his thumb. "I'm not trying to replace Dan," he said softly. "I just want to be there for you, to take care of you, to love both of you, if you'll let me." At that moment, Kate realized she was ready to open her heart to a new love. She wrapped her arms around Dave and whispered, "I love you." "I love you too, my brave girl," he replied, leaning in to kiss her. That night, as Kate fell asleep in Dave's arms, she felt genuinely happy for the first time in a long while. She knew there would be challenges ahead, but now she was ready to face them with the man she loved. 6 months passed, and Kate and Dave's relationship grew stronger with each day. Matt had adjusted to Dave's presence in their lives, and frequently asked when his Uncle Dave would visit again. Kate felt she was prepared for the next step. One evening, as the three of them sat in the kitchen enjoying dinner, Matt suddenly asked, "Mom, why doesn't Uncle Dave live with us?" Kate nearly choked on her tea, glancing at Dave, unsure of how to respond. Dave smiled and winked at Matt. "You know what, Matt? Let's ask your mom if I can move in with you." Kate felt her heart race. She hadn't anticipated such a spontaneous question, but deep down, she knew she was ready for it. "Well, Mom, can I?" Matt looked at her with bright, hopeful eyes. Kate took a deep breath and smiled. "You know what? I think that's a fantastic idea." Dave beamed, pulling them both into a tight embrace. Now we're a real family. The following weeks became a whirlwind of moving preparations. Kate and Dave decided it was best for them to stay in her apartment. Matt was already accustomed to the space, and the neighborhood was convenient for the school he would start attending in the fall. Gradually, they settled into their new life together. Dave proved to be a nurturing and supportive partner, helping with household chores, whipping up his famous pancakes on weekends, and joining in on construction games with Matt. One morning, while they were enjoying breakfast together, Matt suddenly asked, "Dave, can I call you Dad?" Kate froze, unsure of how to respond. She recognized that Matt needed a father figure, but she feared it might somehow diminish her memories of Dan. Dave looked at the boy seriously. "Matt, that's a really important question. Are you sure you want to?" The boy nodded eagerly. "Yes, you take care of me and Mommy, and you play with me. Like a real daddy." Dave glanced at Kate, seeking her approval. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she mustered the strength to smile and nod. Then Dave said, pulling Matt into a warm embrace, "I'd be happy to be your daddy, buddy." In that moment, Kate felt a shift in their relationship. It was a turning point. She realized that Dave had truly become a part of their family, and her fears began to fade away. However, their journey wasn't without challenges. Conflicts and misunderstandings occasionally arose. Dave, having lived the bachelor lifestyle, sometimes didn't see why they couldn't have a late-night movie marathon when Matt had kindergarten the next day. Kate felt a twinge of jealousy when she noticed Matt leaning toward Dave for protection and support. One night, after tucking Matt in bed, they settled down to talk. "Kate, I feel like something's off. It's as if you're pulling away from me," Dave started. Kate sighed, looking down. "I don't know, Dave. Sometimes I feel like I'm losing touch with Matt. He's getting more and more attached to you, and I." "Are you jealous?" he asked softly. "Yeah, I guess I am," Kate admitted. "And I'm scared he's going to forget Dan." Dave took her hand gently. "Listen to me, Kate. Matt will never forget his father. He's just growing up and needs a positive male figure in his life. Just because he's attached to me doesn't mean he loves you any less. You're his mom, and that will never change." Kate felt her tension ease as his words sank in. "You're right. I just get scared sometimes. I've been alone with Matt for so long that now I don't know how to share that responsibility. We'll learn," Dave smiled. "Together, one step at a time." They embraced, and Kate realized she was committed to fighting for their happiness, despite any challenges that lay ahead. As time passed, Matt started first grade, Dave completed his second book, which enjoyed great success, and Kate received a promotion at work. Their lives were improving, and they began to make plans for the future. One evening, as they strolled through the park, Dave suddenly stopped and knelt down. "Kate," he said, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket, "you've made me the happiest man in the world. You and Matt are my family, my everything. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Kate felt the ground shift beneath her. She looked at the ring, then back at Dave's face, filled with love and anticipation, and realized her heart had known the answer all along. "Yes," she whispered through joyful tears. "Yes, I will marry you." Dave slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into a tight embrace. In the middle of the park, they stood oblivious to the surprised glances from passers-by, wrapped up in their happiness and love. When they returned home, a surprise awaited them. Matt was awake and sitting at the kitchen table with his grandmother, who had come by to spend time with him. "Well, did she say yes?" the boy blurted out as soon as they walked in. Kate turned to Dave, astonished. "Did you tell him?" Dave chuckled, looking a bit sheepish. "Well, I thought I should get permission from the man of the house first." Matt puffed out his chest proudly. "I said I'd give permission if Mom was happy." Kate burst into tears and hugged her son tightly. "Thank you, my little man. Mommy is very happy." That night, as Kate lay in bed, she reflected on how much her life had changed in recent years. She had endured the pain of loss, loneliness, fear, and insecurity. But now she had a real family, a loving partner by her side, and a son who was growing up happy and secure. "Thank you, Dan," she thought as she gazed at the starry sky outside the window. "Thank you for watching over us. I will always remember and love you, and I know this is the kind of happiness you would want for us." With that comforting thought, Kate drifted off to sleep, feeling the warmth of Dave's embrace and knowing that a new day full of love and hope awaited them.